yearbook, and you will see that it's not just kindergarten, it's not just first grade, it's also fourth grade, that there is a lack of diversity in the classrooms, that you have a percentage of more than 80% of ESL learners in one classroom and the other is not. And that again is at the detriment of my child's education.
Okay,
Thank you.
Mrs. Lingenfelter. Let me hope I say this one right too. Sarah Petti?
Yes.
All right. There's an extra E in here though for some reason. Followed by Jason Cosetti.
Good evening, President Hansen, Superintendent Dr. Meyer, and all members of the board and members of the audience. My name is Sarah Petti, and my son has attended Woodside from TK to currently kindergarten this year. While I am a new parent to the elementary school system, I have witnessed some alarming behaviors of our current principal, Mrs. Mattioni, which I would like to discuss. When the storm of the century hit the Bay Area, I received an all-call call from the superintendent that school would resume and trained administrators would be on every campus to handle emergencies. My son is a late friend and his drop-off is 9:30. When I arrived at Woodside, not only was there no power at school, but there was no administrator. I had to take it upon myself to run home and bring back a battery-operated lantern just so the kids could have a light in the bathroom, which would have otherwise been pitch black. When I questioned my son's teacher about protocol in such an emergency, she responded that the teachers were told via phone call by Mrs. Mattioni to open their blinds to let in more light. This is handling an emergency? There were 3 extra classes in my son's classroom because it was the only room that had one panel of working and non-flickering lights. There was no heat, and apparently it had been this way since 15 minutes prior to school even starting. When Mrs. Mattioni was questioned by parents about her whereabouts on this day, she answered that she was in a principal's meeting, but I heard from staff that she admitted to them she was in a dentist appointment. She is clearly lying to someone and obviously did not have the safety of our children in her best interests. There have been documented complaints against a first grade teacher at Woodside. Mrs. Mattioni has recently moved students in the last month of school because parents in that class are so fed up with her lack of teaching. Instead of controlling the problem, she is simply moving the problem down to teach kindergarten. Kindergarten, as well as first grade, are some of the most impressionable years for our students. When a child gets this teacher, the parents call it a wasted year. This is not acceptable. We need a strong leader to work with the parents and the teachers to resolve this issue. Telling the truth is something Mrs. Mattioni seems to struggle with. She has been caught in a web of lies over and over. One particular instance is when she was confronted by parents about hiring 2 voluntary transfers over the 2 new teachers she herself hired over the summer. While she has every right to do so, she neglected to stand up for her decision and instead told parents that she had no choice in the matter. When pressed further by parents who educated themselves on the voluntary hiring process, she got flustered and had to backpedal on her story. Woodside has had multiple public tragedies over the last few years. We begged you to give us a leader who would help rebuild our reputation in the community. Mrs. Mattioni is not this leader for many reasons, but foremost simply because she does not lead. Please don't neglect our school any longer.
Thank you, Mrs. Petti. Jason Cosetti, followed by George Fulmore. I believe this is on items not on the agenda, correct?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jason Cosetti. I am also a Woodside parent of 2 students at Woodside. The parents recently got together and started an online petition about saving 3 students. Last week we printed out hard copies and mailed them to all the education leaders noted on the petition. By the time we printed it out, there was 181 signatures, and now there's well over 240, so we're still gaining momentum. This week we're going to follow up with all our education leaders, which is everyone up here as well as others, to see who's sympathetic to our petition. And the petition was to save 3 great teachers from voluntary and involuntary transfer. We hope to find who's sympathetic, and as well as build cooperation between education leaders and the parents. So there's more transparency and there can be more of a parental voice. Just a little bit of a background. Over the last 4 years, there's been more than 50% teacher turnover at Woodside. If we lose these 3 teachers, it will be nearly 25% turnover. coupled with sex abuse scandal and a teacher death over the last couple of years. There's just been a lack of consistency and teacher turnover. Study after study shows teacher turnover not only affects student achievement, but it also affects morale and behavior. That's why we're asking all our education leaders to please reconsider this decision of transferring these 3 great teachers, as well as give us an explanation of why they believe this decision to transfer is in the best interest of our students, parents, school, and community. Since we've done this petition, it's sparked a lot of conversation among parents, and I've found there's just this boiling over frustration with the current leadership at Woodside. And that's the reason why the petition was addressed to all our education leaders. So we realize we're just not getting the answers and the cooperation with the current leadership at Woodside. So that's why we're asking all of our education leaders to please help us have more transparency